Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. Update 37 is here, rocking and rolling, and we're back with a PvP tier list. In this video, I'm going to break down all classes, all playstyles, and give you an honest look and assessment at what their pros are, their weaknesses are, and what's God tier in Elder Scrolls Online Update 37. And I think you know the answer. 1, 2, 3, let's go! Let's start with the weakest link, and something had to be at the bottom, and that's the Magic Necro coming in C- tier. Unfortunately, the Magic Necro PvP builds are currently dead in this patch. As a result, ZOS continues to try to prohibit bombing or destroying that playstyle, the large bomb group proc sets. In Update 37, the Boneyard skill will see a massive reduction in the synergy damage. This significantly weakens an already weak PvP playstyle. The Macro suffers from weak weapon choices, slow mobility, and the stamina version simply does everything better. Macro, lack a class execute, swap to do-wield, get one instantly. It doesn't have an on-demand stun worth a crap. Swap to a two-hander and you get dizzy swing off-balance stun combo. Lack speed, either use Mistform or medium armor and you'll have that. This class is no longer good at bombing. 1-bar builds and even Nightblades are doing much better. A decent main spam build? Nope. Stam Scythe is objectively better. You begin to wonder, what does the Macro bring? Not much beyond Colossus Ultimate in groups and decent healing in group PvP. This is one I would highly recommend sticking away from until it gets a little bit better. Moving on to another lackluster class currently, and this is going to be a shocker for most of you, but hear me out. That's the Magic Sorcerer coming in C tier. The Magic Sorc has remained a staple in ESO PvP for quite some time, but things are about to change. Specifically, the elusive miss skill giving every class in Update 37 a streak type of ability, where a high movement speed and escapability were the Magic Sorc's calling card. Now everyone will have an ability to essentially streak or zoom ahead in a second at 15 meters. Also, this skill, Elusive Mist, will give you major expedition, major evasion, and 300 weapon and spell damage coming out of the form. It doesn't have the stun like streak, but what it essentially does is make the class uniqueness, class identity absolutely dog crap. Excuse my language. Moreover, the Magic Sorc primary defensive capabilities are shield. Yes, shields are getting a buff in Update 37, only if you stack health. These defensive shields do not stack, meaning increase in effectiveness with spell or weapon damage. Thus, the class is pigeon-holed into an archaic playstyle of shield stacking. The class also remains heavily magic dependent and doesn't do well with stamina skills outside of resolving vigor. Unlike the magic classes, the Nightblade and the Dragonknight, who can hybridize effectively, the Mag Sorc suffers from nearly entirely magic-based skills. What the class does well is single target pressure and have a range execute. In today's game, you can argue the Templar is much more effective in this. With an ancient playstyle, mediocre gear sets, and weak hybrid choices, you're left with the Magic Sorc. Now what you get with the Magic Sorc is simply someone standing in the back of battlegrounds going like this, spamming Mage's Fury and hoping they get a kill with the Dragonknight not coming at them and putting 4 dots and blowing their face off. Pour one out for the Magic Sorc, this ain't your patch. Moving on, and we're going to the B tier, and we're going to go B- tier, and that's the Stamina Necro. The Stamina Necro has fallen behind the nuclear arms race in damage due to various nerfs and buffs to other classes. Currently, the class does very well with high burst blast bone combination, but so does the Warden. The only difference is the Warden can cast their burst combo, Deep Fissure, without a target, and it provides 2 debuffs to reducing the armor. The Stam Crow has good survivability, but when you pair it against a Nightblade that can burst heal for 20,000 via Healthy Offering, and the mobility, it doesn't come close. The most effective playstyle remains the burst combo with off-balance Dizzy Swing and Dawnbreaker as your Blast Bones lands. You can nuke beginner players easy with this and they won't see it coming. However, when you go up against the veterans, this will be terribly predictable, telegraphed a mile away, and most will stun, dodge, or avoid the damage entirely. The upside of the class is you're very survivable with literal effort by just maintaining your armor buff. In Update 37, you're going to see a lot better resource sustain, and you can pick up Mistform to actually pick up some decent speed. One of the other major downsides of this class class is you feel like you do nothing but buffing. You run in a circle casting 5 to 6 buffs constantly only to have 5 to 6 seconds of high action gameplay. If you miss your combo, you go back to the drawing board, buffing the shadows, waiting for your chance to strike. And if you're left you wondering, why not just play a Warden? Well, that's the answer. Just play a Warden. It currently does better in every aspect of the Stamina Necro. Moving on to our number 9 B tier, that's Stamina Nightblade. Look, the Stamina Nightblade remains a very good 1vx class, but I hate to break it to you, the Magic Nightblade is much, much better. ZOS recently changed the concealed weapon skill to give a unique 10% damage increase when major expedition ends. Thus, if you combine this skill with Refreshing Path, which creates this buff every second, you're looking at a permanent boost to overall damage. Moreover, surprise attack no longer stuns but critically hits from the flank. So you come to the realization that playing this build and playing this playstyle optimally requires Magic Nightblade, and that's the trick. Also, ZOS continues to try to remove ganking from their game, aka one-shotting players. It's still possible, and you can do it with a lot more effort and a lot less survivability. Most of the high burst proc sets now have a significant delay or do damage over time rather than instantly doing damage. And the Stamina Nightblade requires the highest skill cap for the least reward, and it's not beginner friendly. What Stamina Nightblades or Stam Blades can do well is actually use bows and some control skills with high burst proc sets coming out of stealth at range. It has good survivability, but requires a lot of situational awareness and almost mandatory need for vampire skill line. The moment you spec into magic, change your attributes, change the concealed weapon main spammable, this build becomes an absolute juggernaut and one of the tops in the game. Don't skip ahead. Moving on to another B tier, and that's number 8, Magic Templar. The Magic Templar's main spammable puncturing sweeps was nerfed into oblivion in 2022, but the class is making a comeback with a different playstyle, and that's why it's only number 8 on our best PvP tier list. There's also got a recent buff to Crescent Sweep. This was renamed and now lasts 10 seconds, not 6, so that's a decent one if you're playing in melee range. But in order to make the Templar work, you'll be forced into a range-heavy build relying on your Execute and Destruction Staff spammable for your damage. The issue with range is you lack any inherent movement speed, requiring you to pick off targets and hope they don't go out of range or pick up a movement speed ability to keep up. Magpars also make exceptional beginner builds as tanks or healers. The innate toughness of the class combined with the unique cleanse and burst heal give you the ability to survive even when you're brand new to PvP. And this is what I constantly recommend to people who are feeling frustrated, dying all the time. Throw on Sword and Board, Living Dark, Bubble, Block, and Heal. The issue is when you go into aka Turtle mode, defending yourself, you have little ability to flip the fight in your favor. Maybe you wait until death or you get a Zerg friend group to show up in your defense. Consider the Magpar a great beginner build, and it is actually pretty strong if you change the playstyle to range, use a main spammable that's range, and use your beam, Radiating Glory or Oppression to nuke down single targets. Moving on to another shocker, and this is the Sorc. The Stamina Sorc comes in at number 7, B+ tier. The ranking of Stamina Sorc might seem very odd to players that haven't experimented with the vampire skill rework Elusive Mist. Mistform now gives a similar mobility tool to Shriek, removing the uniqueness and vibrancy from Stam Sorc. What the class does well is very high burst damage, great mobility, and good group utility when playing with a coordinated group. What it doesn't do well is healing, and it requires constant use of Dark Heal for resource sustain. This combination of dark dealing and streaking isn't a problem in the open field. Once your situational awareness dips because you get a sub-bomb from Michael, Sardiner, or Doc, you get bashed doing a dark deal, you can't burst heal like the other classes, you die instantly. In the right hands, the Stam Sorc can rely on mind-numbing speed only for survivability. Everyone else has to be locked in 100% or they're daddy spaghetti. Where the Stam Sorc currently shines is an open space area where they can zip away, line of sight, do some cheesy overloads, and take out single target lambs. Pick your spot when you want to attack, then peel back. But when you're forced into closed spaces or someone has a gap closer to get atop of you, you'll notice a lack of healing, along with being able to bash Dark Heal, your main resource sustain and heal. Right now, currently, now that everybody has somewhat like a streak, Sorc is really just an average class, if not worse. Moving on to something I've done a build on recently, and that's the Stamina Templar coming in A- tier in number 6 spot. The Stam Templar is now considered a dominant class in ESO PvP once again. Again, update 37 will see a rework of Wrecking Blow, giving you major berserk for a short period. This frees up flexible build options that can perform well in PvP using two-hander or, like my build, dual wield with dots. You're also going to see Crescent Sweep, if you skipped ahead earlier, last till 10 seconds rather than 6 and be reworked into a really impressive melee skill. The reason Templars are good is they're very survivable, and converting to stamina attributes and weapon choices give you much greater flexibility in your main spamble and playstyle. Moreover, you can solve the weak class speed with Vampire Elusiveness and resource sustain problem with a two-piece monster helm like Engine Guardian. Where my Engine Guardian at? The Templar also has amazing healing via Honor the Dead and Living Dark with the strongest execute in the game. You basically just use your Magicka pool for healing and range damage while stamina for dots and burst. Speaking of burst, you still have one of the strongest bursting tools in the game, Power of the Light, soaking up damage like a spum, boom, execute, daddy spaghetti. Why the Templar isn't higher than other classes? Other classes simply have more damage, survivability, or better ultimates. Outside of Crescent Sweep, which has been reworked, the class ultimates remain a hindrance to success. This is one of the classes I really enjoyed playing solo. It doesn't have the most damage, but I have good resource sustain. I can use Vampire for mobility, and I have really good burst single target. Love it for 1vx. One of my favorite things to play on stream. Moving along to a very controversial one, but stick with me, let me explain this clearly. The Magic Dragonknight in number 5, coming in with A tier. Now, essentially what you get with the Magic Dragonknight, you want me to always do Magic and Stamina tier list, so here I'm doing it. I'm considering you're going to take a Magic, fully Magic Dragonknight. In today's current game, there is essentially no Magic Dragonknight. You run a hybrid, using a series of stamina skills with stamina-based weapon choices on your front bar typically. This is the optimal way to play a Dragonknight. So I'm going to consider you're playing it a suboptimal way with maybe a Fire Staff using all magic abilities predominantly. So don't get it twisted, Dragonknight I think is one of the best. You'll have to wait till the end, but this is why I rate it this way. So if you're playing a Magic Dragonknight, essentially both skill bars are pretty much identically the same. In Update 37, Scribes of Fate, the Dragonknight will see a nerf to Cinderstorm, Earthen Heart, spamming ability, which gives back infinite resources. Outside of this, it's more of the same with the DK, gaining access to Major Berserk via Chains rework. The major downside of the class is requiring Vampire for mobility and constant need for stamina-based skills and weapon skill lines to make the most out of the playstyle. If you're running this on a pure magic build, you're not going to have access to an execute, nor will some of the damage over time effects like Venomous Claw or Noxious Breath hit nearly as hard. Naturally, you start shifting morphs and gear choices, finding a stamina-leaning hybrid, and the thing absolutely dominates and you can't put it down. The pros of the Magic DK are completely obvious, with mind-numbing dot pressure, god-tier survivability, and crowd control. This remains the most aggressive and one of the most fun playstyles in ESO history, and it's back. Add Elusive Mist or the other morph with a Vampire skill line, now you solve the problem of the Dragonknight with Sea Serpent's Coil. You have massive mobility, making it so fun in the current meta. Moving on to number 4, and that's Stamina Warden at A+ tier. I truly never thought I'd see the day where the Stamina Warden was ranked lower than the Magicka Warden, but here we are. The Stamina Warden is absolutely fantastic in the right hands, providing some of the best burst damage in the Elder Scrolls Online. With the Stamdom, you have flexibility in build choices, great healing, and high mobility. What always holds the class back is resource sustain, and the most effective best skills require Magicka, not stamina, including your main nuke, Deep Fissure. Another strength of the Stamina Warden is the class possesses innate buffs like weapon and spell damage and critical. This class also has massive armor pen with Deep Fissure and high critical damage with the passive Advanced Species, making the Stamdom the best for pure flexibility. The two major downsides are constant needs for buff cycling and weak resource sustain. Outside of that, you can make an argument Stamdom is one of the best classes, especially with the two-hander doing the 1vx playstyle. Tons of different gear options, but really the resource sustain and just the constant need for buffing and magic-based skills holds it back from the top 3. Now we come to the top 3. Before I unveil the rankings, I'm sure you skipped ahead with the timestamps, you could honestly put each one of these 1, 2, or 3. This is how I see it. This is what I see as the landscape of PvP in the Elder Scrolls Online and what I think is the best. I'm going to start with number 3 in S- tier. That's the Magic Nightblade, which you could argue is the best. But let me make a case for why I don't think it's the best. Magic Nightblade went from one of the worst to arguably the best class in ESO PvP. Again, I'm gonna make a case for why it's not number one before I explain why it's so incredible. The Magblade in the right hands is literally the best 1vx, 1v1, and bomber class unquestionably. The downside is it has to be in the right player's hand with the right level of skill, reaction time. I'm almost 40. I'm getting old. And situational awareness. Keeping a broad view of these classes in ESO, I rank it third because most players won't be able to pull off what they've seen or heard. But if you're one of those sweaty spaghettis, buckle up. Here's what the Magblade can do. Literally the highest burst damage with one-shot potential spectral bow proc. The highest burst healing with healthy offering magic skill. Built-in mobility and heal over time for you and your group. Incredible in-class ultimates with flexibility when picking your weapons. Can bomb, 1vx, heal, it doesn't matter. It's fantastic in almost every role. Great resource sustain with siphoning and tag. Fastest ultimate generation possible with Soul Harvest. And that essentially sums up why I think the Nightblade is so strong. And this is what gives me absolutely fits in PvP. Even on my Dragonknight, I still have problems. Again, the downside it is very complicated, requiring a lot of bar swaps and really clever timing with off-balance concealed weapon spectral blow to make the most out of the class. If you have a high skill cap, high reaction time, and you can bar swap all the time and keep up your buffs, this is the number one for the 1vxers. Moving along to number 2, S tier, Magic Warden. Lord Warden! Magden has shockingly moved up to our number 2 spot on the list, and you could make a case for the number 1. The Magden had so many buffs recently, it's hard to list them all out, but the big noticeable one is Piercing Cold, increasing your damage done by 2%, which increases up to 12% when wielding an ice staff. This opens up build options galore for the class to use double frost staff, providing the most battlefield control of any class, immobilizations and stuns. The Magden also excels at healing, survivability, and group utility. Whether playing solo or in a group, there's always room for a Magden, because the Frost Shield status effect is so powerful. You also get resource sustain with skills like Leeching Vines and an AoE stun with Arctic Blast. This class can also shut down an entire Zerg with constant double ice staff, snares, and stuns. It can also shut down ranged damage dealers with something like Crystallized Shield. Just keep in mind this was nerfed, specifically Crystallized Slab was pretty much gutted, but it still works, shutting down ranged users. So why isn't the Magden the best in ESO PvP? Well, the Magden, you're really focused on magic abilities, and the innate part of Magden that sucks, well, it's resource sustained, so you run into the same issue you have with the Stamden. You have incredible survivability, group utility, immobilizations, stuns, control galore. You can shut down range builds, you can off-heal, you can do almost everything. It's complex, resource sustained, holds it back for my number 1, my baby, the hybrid, Stamina Dragonknight. Shocker, I put the Stamina Dragonknight as the best build in PvP, and it remains the strongest, and I consider this a hybrid. It hits the sweet spot between resource sustain, survivability, and now mobility, damage, and a really important one, ease of play. You can pick this up as a Sweat Lord, Hot Pocket munching Mountain Dew sucker, or a beginner, and you feel just as powerful, with or without meta gear. You have flexibility in skills, gear, and weapon choices, and now with elusive mist rework, you have high mobility. The major downside is the use of magicka skills to make it work. You really have to spec into hybrid. But the pros outweigh the cons, and here's a quick rundown of why it's got here. Number 1, 12 seconds of near invincibility and 100% penetration on direct damage. Corrosive armor, I'm looking at you, dog. Some of the best resource sustain and ultimate generation for playing ultra meathead aggressive like you chug down 4 scoops of protein powder and pre-workout. Built-in major berserk, major minor brutality, major defile, and major mending. Is that all the buffs in the game, bro? Great burst healing and heal over time from multiple sources. Gear sets that give you a huge advantage when using sweaty, obnoxious proc sets and defensive sets. All of your ultimates are god tier, defensive, offensive. When you build the Dragonknight right, you'll be around 6,000 weapon damage, 30,000 resistance, high crit multiplier, and proc sets with a massive stat pool. The easiest experiment you can do, or is this class god tier? What are all the sweats playing? The sweatiest hot pocket eating basement dwellers. What are they all playing? They're playing a Stamina Dragonknight hybrid, zipping around with elusive mist, getting carried by corrosive armor, whipping you in the face for 12,000, burst healing for 19,000, and laughing at Zergs in their face. This is why it remains. Do not take my word. Watch PvP. Look at battlegrounds. Look at cyrodiil. You're gonna see them out there. Zoop. And that's my summary. Hope you got something out of this video. Links in the description for every build, timestamps if you want to go skip ahead. I will update this for every patch. It's been about 5 or 6 months. Most of these have big changes except the DK at the top. Also, come watch me live at twitch.tv/Deltiasgaming, where my mom claims I'm the best streamer alive. And she ain't lying for once. Thanks for watching.